In the book Amazing Grace, Eric Metaxas shared how William Wilberforce helped abolish the slave trade in Britain.
In his next book, Bonhoeffer, Metaxas wrote about the German pastor who tried to stop Adolf Hitler. Both books were bestsellers. Now Metaxas wants to tell the world about more heroes. I spoke with him earlier about his new book, 7 Men and the Secret to Their Greatness. Now, your book is about 7 men in history and the secret to their greatness. You talk about George Washington, William Wilberforce, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and John Paul II, among others. Is there one characteristic that's in common to their greatness?
Absolutely, but I can't reveal that on the air. Oh, all right. It actually has to do with, in every one of these cases, and this is why I picked these 7 men. People say, why did you pick these 7 men? One thing they have in common is that each of them made a heroic sacrifice. They did something that anybody else would have said, you're crazy, don't do that. Why are you doing that? And they felt it was the right thing to do. And against all odds, with tremendous courage, they did the right thing. In some of these cases, obviously, we got Jackie Robinson. He refuses to fight back. Everybody would say, well, of course you got to fight back. You can't. He does it for the greater good. And I tell that whole story and how he was a profound Christian. That's not really told in the movie. Amazing to get that out. George Washington gives up being king. People don't know that they were trying to, these officers around him were saying, are you crazy? The Congress is not paying our bills and not paying our back pay. You ought to be king, King George I of America. Every American kid needs to know that story. And the main reason I wrote this book, I would say, is because young men especially, we need heroes. We're not giving our young men heroes and role models in the culture.
Let's talk a little bit more about William Wilberforce, who helped abolish the slave trade in Britain. Why is he an inspiration today?
Well, Wilberforce, there is so much. I mean, the movie only touches on his battle to abolish the slave trade, which is a huge thing. They couldn't go into the details in the movie. In my book, I go into all the other stuff he did, which is mind-boggling. You just can't believe when he came to faith, and that's also not so much in the movie, this profound conversion, which suddenly changes everything. He looks at the world and the broken culture of Great Britain in the 18th century and says, where is God? We need to bring God and his love to the poor, not just to the evil of the slave trade to abolish that, but so much else that was going on. And so he put his talents at the service of God at a time when, you know, you cannot even imagine what God was able to accomplish through one man's obedience, through one man's heroic ability, willingness to sacrifice his own personal ambition. He could have been prime minister, just like George Washington. He could have been this. He says no.
Yeah, now Chuck Colson, you mentioned, he established the William Wilberforce Award to the person who exemplifies Wilberforce's passion and principles. This year's recipient is New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan.
Oh, a hero.
Why was he chosen?
Absolute hero. Cardinal Dolan, I'm not Catholic, but I just think that he has been such a hero in terms of speaking up against the administration right now in terms of religious freedom. Cardinal Dolan has spoken up against the HHS mandate. The government is trying to force religious Christians who don't believe in abortion, don't believe in contraceptions in the case of Catholics, trying to force them to pay for insurance that will cover those things. And he's saying, we have religious freedom in America. We will not countenance this. This is the state encroaching, you know, I talk about that in my Bonhoeffer chapter, when the state begins encroaching on the sphere of the church and saying, we don't care what you believe, you will do this. Well, in America, we have religious freedom. And Cardinal Dolan has been a hero. Chuck Colson was the hero in bringing this to everybody's attention through the Manhattan Declaration. And so, to some extent, I follow him in his footsteps on Breakpoint and on the Manhattan Declaration board. And I just think the fact that we gave the Wilberforce Award to Cardinal Dolan just the other day, honestly, it thrills me.
Heroes, men of greatness, but also very humble, too.
Well, you cannot be truly great unless you're humble. And every one of these 7 men evinced tremendous humility. And I have to say, by the way, one of the main reasons I wrote this book, besides wanting to give young men heroes, is that so many people said, like, I can't read a 600-page book on Bonhoeffer, or I'm not going to read a book on Wilberforce. Well, this is the 20-page, the 18-page, you know, synopsis, because it's a crime. If Americans don't know, especially Christians, but if Americans don't know who these men are, you're missing something.
Well, the book is called 7 Men and the Secret of Their Greatness. Eric Metaxas, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Wish you the best on the book.
Thank you.
Yeah.